In this presentation, I'm going to show you how to use some of the most recent features of Spring Security to add declarative security features to your application. Building security into your application should not necessarily involve coding it directly into your code. You should not have to say things like, if this user has this privilege or if this user does not have this privilege, then either offer them some feature or not. Instead, you should be able to declare outside of your application code what your security rules are, and let those rules be applied to your application at runtime. That's what Spring Security does. Now, if you're familiar with Spring Security from its early days when it was known as a CG Security, you may have got a bad taste in your mouth. Because although a CG was a very capable security framework, it required a lot of XML. In fact, the typical CG configuration file was pages and pages of XML. So much so that if I tried to fit it on a single slide, you wouldn't be able to read it because the fonts would be so small. Good news is Spring Security 2 made that a lot simpler with some common defaults, some sensible defaults, as well as taking advantage of Spring's custom namespace support. So now there's a security namespace that makes this much easier to configure. Going forward with Spring 3.0, Spring Security 3.0, there is now support for the Spring expression language, which further removes some of the complexities of Spring Security, making security a simple matter of a simple expression saying things like, if this user has admin authority and if this value is greater than 10,000, then allow this to happen. So very succinctly you can apply these security rules without having to write pages and pages of XML. So come check this session out. I'll show you how to take advantage of Spring Security, how to cut back on some of the Spring Security configuration in your application, and how to make your applications rock solid